Sorry, I
Okay.
didn't hear what you said previously, so I don't know what I'm expected to do.
Okay, we'll just take it up again. That's just a 2 minutes.
Apologies.
It's fine. So yeah, good day everyone from wherever you're joining, and we apologize for the glitches that happened. Thankfully, we are back now, and we hope to really help you in maximizing your chances towards securing funding for your grad school in the USA. And with us here, we have Aminat Ibrahim joining us, who will be taking us through this wonderful session. And to begin, I would just like to say one or two. Of course, it's just one or two about her. So kindly permit me to
Permitted.
all right. Okay. So Aminat Ibrahim is a PhD candidate in the biomedical engineering program at Cornell University. She has expertise in medical development and is focused on developing next generation artificial heart implants for people with heart disease, particularly young adults in developing countries. She works as a graduate teaching and research assistant at the main School of Biomedical Engineering. Aminat plays an advisory role at the Cornell College of Engineering Career Services, where she works with MS/PhD students on strategic positioning after graduate school. Similarly, she's at the forefront of uh, democratizing luck into Ivy League institutions for low-income graduates, African students, through sensitization, mentorship, and training. As the convener of International Students Chat, she supports international graduate students through community building, breaking imposter syndrome, and finding a sense of belonging. You said SDF Science for Development Institute Scholar, a 2024 Graduate Women Science Fellowship Honorable Selection, a 2021 Cornell University Fellow, and the 2021 to 2022 AIA SR Memorial Scholarship winner. She was also the best student in biomedical engineering and top 1% in the Faculty of Engineering, University of Ilorin, Nigeria in 2018. Aminat is an advocate of SDGs 3, 4, 5, and 9. She's very dedicated and passionate about health and is committed to supporting local and international efforts to improve well-being by applying her expertise in developing sustainable global solutions for people with heart diseases. She is also passionate about teaching and mentoring next-generation scientists by participating in programs that target high schools, such as the NYS for Career Exploration Program in her spare time. Aminat enjoys hiking, biking, and playing volleyball. So yeah, that is just a brief about Aminat, and we are so excited and really glad to have you on board. Thank you so much, and I think the bio speaks volume already, and we sort of have an idea of what to expect on the call. So I will just leave you to just do your thing right now. So thank you so much for honoring our invite. We hope that our participants also have also go home value packed. Thank you. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I didn't know that long. The bio thing, but I'm honored to be here, just to share some of my experiences and also some tips on securing funding for international students, especially in the United States. So some of these tips will be applicable to not just the United States. It can be applicable to Canada, like just North America in general. So I'm happy to go through this process with you guys. So again, like I always say, this is definitely going to be an interactive session. So feel free to put in questions into the chat. And I'll also be asking questions for those that know me already. So I'll appreciate if you guys can take your time to, just try to respond as best as you can. So, having said that, I would share my screen. I don't think I have to introduce myself again because the host already did majority of that. So me doing that again would just be like, ooh, overdue, you know. I'll just share my second screen. Can you see my screen?
Oh, yes, we can see it.
Okay, awesome. So today we're talking about maximizing the chances. How do you secure funding for graduate school or for graduate school in the United States? Amina. Oh, by the way, it's Amina. Amina. The T is silent always. Okay, so uh, one the first question I have is, do you know that graduate school fees can actually drill a hole in your pocket? Because I've seen cases where students come around and they ask questions like, "Oh, can I actually fund graduate school in the United States?" For someone coming from a developing country, or for other people, not necessarily Nigeria alone, um, converting naira to whatever dollars is right now, it's very very high amount. So, and you're looking around 35 50,000, 60,000 US dollars for like a semester, or just a semester program. So that's a lot, and we all understand that fact, which is why we're trying to help you guys understand that without necessarily putting a hole in your pocket, there are ways around this. We've done it. People have done this. They've gone through that process. So we hope that you'll be able to pick one or two out of the session. So I want to ask a question, which is, what funding opportunities in the United States are you guys familiar with? Like I said, it's interactive. Feel free to scan the QR code. I'll also post the QR code on the chat right here, just so you can fill in one or two things regarding what you think. Excuse me. I think this code should work. Yep. So for those that are unable to scan, just feel free to, you know, click on the link in the text box and yeah, put in your response. I'm gonna give us a couple of minutes to do that. Okay, I think the poll is not active yet. I'm just gonna activate the poll right now. Oh, it's active. Okay. Okay. I'm not gonna show you the responses yet because I want people to think about it before I show you guys. That's cheating, and I don't want people to cheat. And again, I can also track the people responding, like the number of people that respond. So if you're not responding, I'll definitely know. And you're gonna make me sad because it's like, hey, I don't have, people are not responding to you. Okay. Okay, I see a lot of response coming in. That's a good one. Few seconds more. So we have just 19 people that responded so far. I think we're like 70 plus on this link just now. So let's at least do something. Okay. Okay. We might just close the poll right here. The link didn't open. Oh, really? anyways, you don't have to register. You can just keep for now. So the link is open, is going through. I clicked on it just now. It went through. You don't need to register. Just click skip for now. Okay, I guess we can close the port right there, and I'm going to show you guys what you set. Give me a sec. Okay, so these are your responses. Some mentioned none. Okay, graduate. I think majority of people. So the bigger the text is or the font size is, means that a lot of people wrote in none. Then we also have Edmond. Not sure what that is. Oh, okay, Erasmus. There is Mastercard. There's Fulbright, Grant, Chevening, teaching. I would assume that's teaching assistant. None. Okay. I mean, that's Purdue scholarships. Okay. I mean, those are good responses. It shows that to a large extent or to some extent, you guys have an idea of what, having or what scholarship is about and this kind of funding that you can get for it. So that's a really good one. However, I want to mention to you that some of these fundings are not really applicable to the United States. So it may not necessarily be what you cannot probably for Erasmus, for example, we don't have it right here. So we have some other ones, but definitely not something like Erasmus. And the people that mentioned teaching assistantship, research assistantship, yeah, that's something that are very peculiar and very common in the United States. So the next thing is, how do we then go about some of these funding? Now you understand that we have funding, but how do we go about them? So we have some of, some people, or some of you guys didn't highlight this, but I wanted to share with you the ones that, documented. So we have fellowships, more of institutional fellowships. We have teaching, research, and admin assistantship. So in the United States, when they can, when you apply, for example, they can offer you something around with teaching or research, depending on how your CV is being curated. They can easily tailor that to a specific research, or they can, in fact, a faculty might be interested in you based on how they see your CV or they perceive your CV. Then for admin assistantship, you don't necessarily have to teach, you don't necessarily have to do research, mostly just helping with administrative stuff on campus. I've had friends, or I know people who have done a lot of administrative assistantship on campus. So we also have like government and organization funds. So it could come in forms of like also fellowship for example, like Fulbright. You can also get Fulbright to study in the United States. But I think for Nigerians, that is currently not something we can actually apply for. Because I've seen Germans, I've friend Ukrainians, like different people from different countries that are able to apply for Fulbright, but I think Nigerians are not really able to do that. So, but for the government and the organization fund, those are mostly external funds. Then we also have like the employer funds, where you're working at in a place and they mention to you that, okay, don't worry, we'll sponsor you this and that, and with that they can cover the funding, definitely not coming from your pocket. So we also have loans and financial aids. So for loans and financial aids, you know that for this one, you're definitely putting your life on the line or yourself on the line, because at the end of the program, you have to pay them back. So for the ones that we've highlighted previously, you don't necessarily have to pay them back. Maybe the employer funds, they might tell you that you have to come back to work for us, forming like a sort of bond. Like some of the things, for example, the employer funds, you can have it in institutions where they sponsor you for a PhD and they tell you to come back to, come work for them for like 3 years. I know Unilever did that in the past, or I think they stopped or something like that. Then we also have for loans and financial aids, you can have them being funded by the federal government. So when we have in the United States, we have federal loans like the FAFSA, but I think it's mostly for citizens, not necessarily for international. So you want to keep that in mind, especially when you're going through a website and you're saying things like, oh, you can apply for FAFSA, and you're not really sure whether it's applicable to you or not. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation. Then we also have work study, federal work study, similar to, working and just getting on paid for that, like working, for example, on campus. Then personal savings. This is the one I mentioned to you might drill a hole in your pocket, but not everybody have the same, pocket. So maybe you're able to afford it, maybe. So that's that about the different types of funding and how you can go about it. So going into your institutional fellowships, what exactly are institutional fellowships? These ones are mostly awards that help to support your study, and you don't necessarily have to do anything. Yours is just to attend classes, attend lectures, probably seminars, and once you do that, you're able to graduate. They fund your program. They sometimes give you stipends, and sometimes they may not necessarily give you stipends. Then how do you locate some of these support or this fellowships? You can check them on departmental websites. They're also available on different fellowship database, which we're going to, really comb through, and I'll show you example of how to do that. So I've highlighted example here just for us to go through that together. So the first one is the departmental one, and I'll give you an example of my institution. So for this one, when you check the departmental website for biomedical engineering at Cornell, I just typed financial aid biomedical engineering Cornell University, and it brought me directly to this page. And on this page, they highlight how the funding is regulated within the PhD program. And if you're not really looking for a PhD program, it could also be an MN or a master's program. And you just need to type in there that financial aid for master's program. So for this one, you can see the financial aid. It tells you, there's a link to Cornell Graduate School that takes you to where you can get some information around financial aid. You also have things around the fellowships, different fellowships that they have. But again, you want to check, how do you qualify for some of those fellowships? Is either you need to apply separately or you need to apply while submitting your applications, because for some applications you have to submit it together, but for some they will tell you, oh, you can apply after submitting your application. So you have to be very clear on that. Again, going through this website, understanding what they're all about is something that is very, very important. So I haven't shown you that. Secondly, you can also check the university fellowship databases. For example, when I go to this institutional website, it takes me to this page where it's like, oh, we have fellowships. And for fellowships, these are the things that you can do. These are the available fellowships that we have, that we offer. So we have new student fellowships, we have continuing student fellowships. So when you click on, for example, new student fellowships, which is the same that you have here, it takes you to this wonderful website page. And under this page, you have Cornell and Sage fellowships. And for Cornell fellowship, it tells you how to go about that. Okay, this is awarded for your first year, but how do I apply? It tells you how to apply. This is how to apply right here. Then you have the Sage fellowship. What are the requirements to be a Sage fellow? You can just comb through that and read it and digest it to understand what it takes and what you need to include in your application documents so you can probably bag some of these fellowships. They also offer something like diversity recruitment fellowships. For most institutions, they offer diversity fellowships. So you also want to check, those kind of fellowships and how do you qualify for it. And on that diversity fellowship, you have like Dean Excellence, SUNY, Dean McNair. Some of them, again, like I said, it's not just for international students. So you need to check the requirements to be sure that, these fellowships, they're not necessarily international or for international. Some of them, they tell you you can be a first generation college student for you to qualify for some of this fellowship. And they tell you how to apply for them again. And lastly, they also have something like this Scandinavia fellowship that, you're eligible to apply, and they probably tell you, oh, this is how you can apply for it. So those are ways of checking websites for fellowships that are available, and not just for fellowships alone, because it's all about financial support. They're going to list some other options that are available, like loans, like emergency fund, like, they give you different information. It depends on how you're able to find your way around all of these websites. So I highlighted the departmental fellowship because there's some fellowship that some fellowships that are available on the department, but you cannot necessarily find them, on the school website. So checking both sides are very important, and I would highly recommend that you do, you try to check both sides, so you don't, think that there's no funding when in essence there's actually funding. Quite recently, I was interacting with somebody, and they had mentioned to me that although we do not qualify for FAFSA fellowship, FAFSA kind of loan, but there are some departments that do offer you some sort of loan that when you get it, they wait until you graduate and they're able to, like, you can repay them afterward. So it's that one, for example, is departmental specific, not necessarily college specific. So I'd recommend you do that. So some key criteria, to back some of those fellowships, you want to look into academic excellence, if you're still in undergrad, if you're still in school, you know that you want to put in a lot of work into graduating like tops of your class. Your grades have to be superb. Again, these fellowships, they're highly competitive. You're competing with people from all over the world with a lot of research experiences, with a lot of good GPA, and they're all waiting, right? They're all competing for the same thing with you. So how do you position yourself strategically in order to win some of this fellowship? Those are the things you have to think about. So excelling academically, and trying to exude your research potential is very, very important. So the next is assistantships. So when you hear assistantships, so basically this is like very common in the United States. This is like one of the most common sort of funding that you see. And it is also like a work study kind of thing, because you do work or you do research, or you teach basically. And in return for that, they pay your tuition, they pay your they give you some stipend, some benefits, some health insurance and things like that. So when people tell you, oh, I got a fully funded scholarship in the United States, it's mostly a research assistantship kind of position. So for a teaching assistant, you help with, for example, teaching undergrads, grading, and having sort of discussion. It's like you a supporting teacher for the instructor of the class. So you're also teaching, but not necessarily the head teacher, but you're just supporting in terms of grading, helping them with setting quizzes, setting questions for exams, and things along that line, which is one of the roles that I'm currently holding for right now. Then you get paid, like I said, for stipend. They also help you to pay your tuition, and in some cases, health insurance. Then for research experiences, assistantships, you have them being funded by research grants. So, and this is very key because it also varies across board. So for example, in Canada, for most of their faculties, they will tell you that you need to email faculties before we can accept you into our program. And that is because the faculties need to agree and accept you into their lab before they can give you admission or offer you an admission. And it's mostly guided by the research grant. But for some institutions in the United States, they will tell you that you'll be admitted into the program. Then after being admitted into the program, you can then select a faculty. You guys will have like a mutual conversation, and you can then agree to work in the lab, and it will still be funded by the research grants. So it varies across board. You just have to be sure. And some institutions in the United States too would ask you to like email professors, get their approval before getting you in. So try to understand those dynamics, especially on the websites, on website when you're trying to apply. It's very, very important. It's very, very key that you go through all of those details, all of those information before starting your applications. So and some of the ways, like I've highlighted here, to increase your chances is contacting supervisors. So for some situations, you can try to contact them. It's not guaranteed that they will respond to you, but I've seen people that they got funding opportunities through that route. So because they're very busy, they can comb through 200 emails, whatever, in a day or things like that. They can get those emails. Your email can get lost within all other other emails, so they may not necessarily be able to get back to you. Trying to contact potential supervisor is also really highly recommended. If they respond to you, fine. If they don't, fine. Just understand that they have a lot of things ongoing for them, and they may not necessarily be able to get back to you on time. But again, I've seen people that were able to get some of these opportunities through just emailing supervisors. I think I did a ton of emailing supervisors back then when I was trying to apply for Canadian institutions, and I was lucky enough to get at least 3 different interviews to Canadian institutions. Yeah, this was what I highlighted in previously, that you want to highlight your teaching skills, your research skills in your application document. For example, in your CV, you want to highlight that and tell us some of those research skills that you have. So it's easier to find you something that fit. If you've had like teaching experiences, you also want to highlight that, so we can easily match you. So I've seen people that got funding just because they've highlighted that, oh, I was a TA for a certain course while I was in my undergrad, and it really helped them to like secure funding for this particular graduate school application. And one thing to also note is that the dynamics of the US funding, it can be that, so mostly when you submit your application, they ask all of those questions. Your offer mostly comes with funding. But in some situation, it may not necessarily come with funding. If you're applying for PhD programs, for example, they're mostly coming with funding. And I think 97% of PhD programs in the United States are funded. But for the masters, they mostly don't have full funding. But if it's coming with funding, they may email you. And if they email you, if they don't email you, you can also email them to ask questions about funding, asking questions from the graduate field assistants, people in grad school session, things like that. Just asking them about how to go about your funding opportunities. I think I'll get to subsequent slides. So some of the external scholarships that you can also look into, we have external scholarships, fellowships, and grants. Excuse me. I highlighted this previously. You can look into like the Fulbright program. Again, I don't think it's available for Nigerians, but you can check just to verify that it's actually a yes or no. Then we have the AAUW International Fellowship. I think this is mostly for females. I once applied to this while in Nigeria. It's fully funded, and they tell you that, oh, if you get this fellowship, you have to come back to Nigeria, this and that. So that's one really good one to actually look into. People need to start digging deep into this one. Nigerians do qualify for this particular one, and you can apply for it. So we also have like the World Bank Graduate Scholarship Program. These are also some potential that you can also explore, not just looking at the ones that are not necessarily not just looking at research and teaching assistantships alone. So some of the tips that you want to do when applying is that you want to start very early in your program, in your applications. Like, have a plan, maybe 1 year ahead of, okay, by next year, or maybe I'm in my 3rd year of grad school, not even 3rd year. Like, you want to start building your profile, your portfolio while you're in your undergrad. Like 1st year, 2nd year, you're already thinking, okay, I want to gain this kind of research skill, I want to gain this kind of teaching skill, so that I can put everything together, while after graduation, and I can use that to apply. Then ensure that whatever you're trying to apply for, you're tailoring whatever your application documents you have. So I see a lot of generalized CVs, SOPs, and everybody is like hustling for scholarship, but you're making yours so general, very generic. We are not saying things that are peculiar or specific to particular scholarship. So ensure that whatever you're submitting, whatever document or application you're submitting, it aligns with the goals and the mission of the industry, or the people giving you that fellowship. Also, focus on your statement. Again, there's been a lot of generic statements. People pick things off the internet. I wouldn't recommend that for you. Ensure to tailor whatever you're doing to the applications. They ask questions. This is something a lot of people miss. Oh, Chevening, I just need to stamp the application. You're not really sure about what question Chevening wants you to address. You just say, oh, you're starting blindly. You don't start an application blindly. You start in a way that you understand what they're trying to ask you, and you positioning yourself in a way that matches whatever they're asking for, not telling them to match yours. You are the one looking for the funding. It should be the other way around. You trying to match whatever they asked you in your statements. So I want us to quickly go through this website. So there's a website which houses a lot of funding opportunity for graduate students. Some of them may be applicable to internationals like Nigerians. Some of them may not necessarily be applicable. Also grants. So I know we're not really used to applying for grants, but I think this is something that is also very, very relevant. I've seen a lot of people going for like PhD in the UK, applying for grants, and they're able to get those grants. Why not apply for grants as well and, leverage on that, on those things to be able to get into the United States, for example. I myself, I think early this year, I've seen grants or opportunities that we're talking about. Oh, you can come to the United States to study for a year. Those are opportunities that you may want to explore. So just for us to have an idea of what I'm talking about, I want to show you quickly how some of the aids that you can see available. So John Hopkins University, the good thing is they've curated this list of different funding opportunities. It's in like an Excel sheet format. So I can post the link on the chat so people have access and access to it, and you can go through that the Excel sheet. So when you click on it here, it tells you that it starts downloading, but I'd already downloaded it, and I'll show you a typical of what it looks like. I think it had over 100 fellowships and grants that you can apply for. So this is how the Excel sheet looks like. You see, so they have different funding opportunities. Like I said, some of them may or may not be applicable to international students, so you want to check. So there's Facebook fellowship program, and you can click on this. It takes you directly to the link or the website that this fellowship is being advertised, and when you click on that, you probably see something like this. We're not accepting new application at this time. Search below. So this information is telling you that you can come back later to, this fellowship may be available, but for right now, it is not available. And the good thing is they've given you the list of people that have won the scholarship before. So a smart person would try to find a way to read more about the scholarship, then contact somebody that won the scholarship in the past and try to ask them for some guidance. Not guidance, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. A guidance of, I know what I'm doing. I've read about the scholarship. I understand the scholarship. I just want you to give me some little tips about the scholarship. So, it has different list of names, and with that, you can start your application. So not just for Facebook fellowship, we have like different fellowship. Some are like department or field focus. Some of them are like not necessarily field focus. They just, they're general. So you see, some of them, they're like grants. They just fund you. Some of them will tell you, oh, you should find a supervisor that you can work in his lab, and they just give you the fund once you're able to do that. So there are tons and tons of this. I think it has about, over 100 fellowships, scholarships, and grants. I think because they try to populate it every time. So right now they're currently on 192, and this is a very good document that you want to have and you want to comb through gradually. Like I also, as much as I'm also here, I'm still looking for funding to support myself. Not because I don't have funding. I have multiple funding, as you've heard and recite, but I'm just someone that always like to do, things like this. And again, this is how I also can build my profile. Being in grad school does not mean that I've gotten to that peak point. I'm also trying to build more profile, which is something I would recommend for anybody. So I'm going to put the link, like I said, in the chat, and you guys can have access to, download this and, do whatever you want to do with it. And not just John Hopkins. I've seen, different institutions that populate databases like this, and it is really helpful. Give me, where is the chat? Or maybe I can post that later on. Okay, so now we understand, how to check funding, how to go about, searching and doing. Oh, you can't see my shared screen? I'm sorry, I missed these messages. Can you see it now?
Please proceed. The screen is up. I think it's from his end.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so so now you've seen the database. We've highlighted how you can, the different opportunities that are available. So one major thing is you want to strategically position yourself. You're not just applying for applying's sake. You're applying to compete. You're applying to get it. Always have it in mind. So when I apply for scholarship or any application like that, my mindset is I'm getting this. If it doesn't come, that's okay. But my mindset is I'm getting this. And when I'm trying to get it, I go all out on my applications. So people have asked me like, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? I say, for me, when I make application, irrespective of the level of application that I'm trying to make, I go all out on it. Just so they know that, okay, this person has what it takes to earn whatever it is. Do not keep yourself somewhere to be saying that, oh, I'll apply, I just don't need to show myself. No, I think the mentality of we Africans not wanting to showcase what we have has been a huge limiting factor. Being able to speak about some of the works that you've done, some of your achievements, I think it's highly encouraged, and it's something that we should all inculcate. So for this one, when you're building your application, you want to have a very solid GPA. What courses are you taking? Like when you're getting into undergrad, you want to start thinking about the end goal in mind. A lot of people are in their fourth year and they don't even have an idea of what they want to do. Understand how things like that could happen, but you want to, start early enough, like I highlighted earlier on. So your standardized tests. You see people that want to do GRE, but they don't even know what GRE is about. Like, how do you want to go to grad school and be competitive if you don't know what all of these are? Your research experience. How many research experience do you have? There's some things I don't want to say right now, but we all understand how final year thesis works in our setting. So again, you want to put in the work, you want to put in the effort into writing your research thesis. It gives you an experience, which is the research experience, which you can put together to then use for some of these applications. Are you looking into paper publications? People in undergrad also publish papers. Are you attending conferences? You don't necessarily have to attend it in person. Do you even know the conferences that are within your space, within the program that you're in? So for you, you need to learn more and try to make yourself be competitive enough. The people that are getting it, they're not just getting it because they're sitting down at home. They're getting it because they're putting it in the work. What lab experience or what experience do you even have in general? What can I see in your CV that will make me say that, oh, I want to get this person, I want to fund them? How am I even convinced? I see a lot of people come in with, oh, I graduated with 5.0 or 5.0 and I should get it. I'm sorry, that's not how it works, because you're competing with 1 million other students that probably they've had the highest CGPA in their country or that you can ever imagine. They've had a ton of research experiences. They've written papers, they've published, they've attended conferences. We have seniors here that are undergrads that they've TA'd, have done researches, that have attended conferences, that have published papers. They're scoring high in their standardized tests. They're graduating with high GPA. So how do you want to compete in that kind of space? Again, you have to be very strategic about whatever you're doing. And I'm sure that Careergrill, that organizes this program, they have a way of helping you position yourself in a very strategic position. Then again, your letter of recommendations, how are you able to put that together? Some people, you leave school and you forget your professors. You're like, oh, I will never see this professor again. Is that how it should work? Those professors, trust me, they will still be the one to write recommendation letter for you if you're trying to get into school. I'm in my 4th year now, and early this year, I still had a recommendation letter coming from my level advisor, and that we started together in 2014. Which means that those people, those relationships, they're very important. You have to keep them. You have to take note of them, and to be able to form that strong bond, and they can recommend you, not just for now, but for future opportunities. Because in the United States, recommendation letter is like one of the most, highly ranked thing you can use for your application documents. So having talked about assistantships, and how to go about those ones, we also have financial aids and loans. I mentioned FAFSA the other time. It's mostly for US citizens and probably residents, not for international students. You're not able to get that. So we have different loan options. You can have like private institutions that are asking for, where you can ask for loans, work study, like I previously mentioned. So some other funding opportunities that are available, we have like the employer funds, which I mentioned earlier on, where your employer will fund you and they ask you to come back and work for them. If you want to drill a hole in your pocket, that's still okay as well, using personal savings and some of the loans that I've also highlighted, basically. So we've highlighted all of these opportunities, but we understand that there are definitely going to be challenges. So what do you think are the challenges that are attached to securing this funding, in your own opinion? It doesn't have to be what every other person thinks, just you. What do you think are those, major challenges that you've observed that are there with securing scholarships or funding? So the poll is open. Please scan it like I asked you to the last time. So this is a different code. I'm gonna deactivate this. Okay, so the next one, just give me a sec. Okay. Yeah, so it's now active. You guys can put in your copy response link. Again, you can skip. You don't necessarily have to respond. And I'm just gonna send the link. I think that's it, to the chat. Okay, so okay, please keep it coming. I'm gonna reveal this to us. Once we're done. Okay, I'm gonna give us a couple minutes to do that. I see them coming in. Please keep them coming. We have 8 responses. We're over 60 people on the chat. Let's try to respond. Thank you. Just 8? No, no way. Keep them coming. Okay, we have 19 people. Wait, why are we constantly having 19? We need more, please, more, please. Let's do a few more, at least 50%. I know that's an overkill, but 30 people, maybe? Okay, I'm gonna close that in like a minute. I'll just give you guys a minute more. Okay, 24 people. Okay, that's moving, that's moving. Oh, okay, I think some people are writing it in the chat. Some people are just putting it directly into the chat instead of the 28 people. Okay. Okay, so I think that's it. That's fine. We can 33 people. Okay, that's a good one. Now we can continue. So these are some of your responses. Sorry. I'm just gonna go back. Okay, so let's go through your responses together. Wait, why is it not showing everything? Okay, I don't know why it's like very slow because it's like taking time to load itself, which is quite funny. Anyways, so as you can see from some of the responses, we have like bad application. People say they keep making bad application. No lack of experiences. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Lack of experiences doesn't mean that. I mean, people start off applications by starting up applications. Like I don't really understand that, but let's go on. Rejection mails, yes, I got that a lot too. Study gap. Okay, I think for this one, once you're able to explain why there is a gap in your application, I think that should suffice enough. Like that should be enough. The high competition, of course, there's never gonna be a low competition. The higher you go, the steeper it becomes. So you have to always compete with people. Low CGPA. I understand that this could have had, like, this can really have a huge impact, which was why I had to highlight that you should always, always try to ensure that you graduate with a good CGPA. But there are still some other options. I mean, we've had people that graduated with 2-2, second class lower, and they're still able to secure funding. I know there are tons and tons of videos, YouTube videos that address this, basically. Rejections, okay. The fear of rejections is the beginning of failure. If you're really afraid of rejections, I'm sorry, it will be hard. It will be really hard because rejections. I think we got to a point. My friends and I, we got to a point where rejection became a norm. So it became a part of just everything. Um, Waiting until we have big achievement before building a CV. Yes, this particular one, it's very, very, it's not a good approach because you are waiting to get everything you want. I've seen someone made a post. I think it was someone that made a post that immediately she applies for something, she's already adding it to her CV. And that is doing things, not just adding it for adding its sake, because you're adding it because you understand that you put in a lot of work to submit that application and you're just gonna get it. There's a feeling that you have when you've submitted a really good application. Like it just comes to you. So when I started my applications, before getting into Cornell, there was the point of me submitting Cornell application, like I was very positive that I would get it because it just seemed like there was a huge shift and that was it. So you want to start building your CV from early on. Don't just wait for anything. Start building it. This is a big challenge for me. I don't know how to go about it. Okay. I mean, we can start from somewhere. I'll also refer you to some of the YouTube videos that we've made in the past, where you can. I think Careergrill has also made something similar. So please refer to those past. Building the right portfolio, good professors to write recommendation letters. Like I said, you cannot just wake up one morning and be telling people, oh, go and write me recommendation letters. That's not how it works. You have to build a solid relationship for them. On availability of funding, there's always funding. Okay, for the preferred choice, of course, you can see where the problem is coming from. You are expecting them to meet you. No, you have to go meet them. The choice, of course, is something that you have to go and meet them. We are very rigid when it comes to applications. Most people, you're like, oh, this is what I want, and that's it. I'm sorry. They are not creating it because of you. They've created it. You have to tailor it towards them. So you can have, for example, the way it works here, you're not just applying for, you can apply to biomedical engineering and you probably be an electrical engineer. Or as I'm in biomedical engineering, I can apply to, say, electrical engineering department. And that's if they have the kind of research that I'm looking to do. So it's more about research base here, not the department. Then the application fees. For application fees, you can always request for a waiver. And you cannot just request for a waiver a week to deadline. That's why I always advise start very early. The earlier you start, the more you get that funding opportunity, the application fee waiver, and you can use it. I've seen two people, one started early, asked for a fee waiver, he got it. The second person started late and it told the person that it's no longer available. So that's how it works. It's a first come, first serve basis. Maybe they've put together like maybe $1,000 for application fee waiver. Once it's done, that's it. The next set of people that will come, you have to fund it yourself. So start early so you can get the fee waivers. And you also probably target schools that require school that probably does not require you to pay application fees. Statement of purpose, other letter in a way that makes it. Yeah. This is something you have to take cognizance of. Look for sample templates, ask people, write it, ask them to review your document, and everything's gonna be fine. Coming from a poor background, I'm sorry, I don't want to be mean, but I don't think this is a good argument. Compelling statements, you can always find a way around that. No mentor, you can always find mentorships. Okay, I think we still have ton and ton of them. I'll just get right into what we're doing, and we can always come back to this once we're done. Okay, poll closed. Okay, so yeah, I appreciate everything that you guys have highlighted, but I highlighted just a couple, I guess, which is number one is funding resources. Sometimes it can be difficult getting for international students, but like I said, there are available fundings. You just need to search the right database and the right specific areas and ask good questions. visa and immigration. So if you're thinking of coming to do like work study, for example, you have limitation on the amount of work that you can do. You can only work 20 hours a week maximum. And your spouse, if you intend coming with your spouse, for example, in Canada, you can go with your spouse and they work, but here your spouse is unable to work. So you have to think through when you're trying to take a loan or come on aid, or look for like aid here. So some of the tips and takeaways that I have for you, ensure that you network and build the right relationships. This is very important. Your network will determine your net worth, like they always say. Surround yourself with people that you know that they can guide you right. So one of the things we did back then was, because you get tired, some of the tasks are like daunting ones. We try to build a small group and we're able to motivate one another. We also send things around, just for us to be informed, because you are not everywhere. But if you have people everywhere, then which means you're everywhere. So attend conferences, network with them. When you're trying to email faculties, again, you need to establish good ones with the previous people you've met, and those people can also recommend you for the future people. So it's not just about, oh, I'm only building relationships for where I am currently, and that's it. That's not how it works. Because everybody can always come through for you at any point in time. So email faculties, email them, try to establish relationships, read their works. So there was a particular professor that complained, I think on Twitter the other day, that he will see emails from students and the students will tell him that, oh, I've read your work, I've done this, I've done that. But he will go through whatever emails they've sent and it's totally not in line with his area of study. And it's like, what work have you then read? And that's how it is. Like, you're telling me you've read my work, but I couldn't find anything that relates to me in whatever you've submitted. How does that even sound to you? So try as much as possible to, when you're saying you've read your work, let it be that you've actually read your work. So use online platforms. I've had amazing, really solid relationships from LinkedIn, just meeting people from LinkedIn. I got one of my jobs through someone that I met on LinkedIn, and we've been really good friends since then. So you can meet people on LinkedIn that you can build really good interactions and really good network with. Try to leverage on that. Use ResearchGate. A lot of people are not even aware that there's something called ResearchGate. How well are you connecting with people there? Are you interacting with them? In fact, you can email people when you see their work and you're like, oh, this is also my line or my area of research. Is there a way I can collaborate with you? Offer to collaborate. You don't necessarily have to be the one to reach out to you. Be very proactive. You don't wait until people come to you. Be proactive in whatever you're trying to do. So we also have, we have this culture of not following up with people. You message them today and you'll be like, oh, I messaged that person one time and they never responded. I'm sorry, people have tons of things going on for them. Like, I mean, I checked my timeline this week and I'm like, okay, there's a lot of things going on. So if you had messaged me, I may not even see that you've messaged me. And that is just mean that I'm actually a student. Then what would you say about a professor that's really busy? So you want to keep that conversation going, and one person that I would really like to use as an example is this particular lady has been trying to keep in touch with me over the last 1 or 2 years, I think. They were asked to message me from a friend, asked them to message me. And when they messaged me, I might just randomly just open my WhatsApp today and I'll see this person message me. And in my head, I've registered their name in my head such that whenever they tell me that, oh, I need something from you, I can always, give them whatever they need. Even if there's no time, I can squeeze out time. But for you that I've never had sort of engagement with, it will be harder for me to be able to squeeze out time for you. But for this person, I've known them, I'm accustomed to them. So it's easier for them to just say, oh, sis, I have something. Could you please help me with this? That's how you build conversation and you continue engaging people. And again, people are busy. So stop thinking that, oh, you're entitled to their time. I'm sorry, you're not entitled to anybody's time. Just try, because they're only trying to help. If they're able to offer you the help, fine. If they're not, that's also okay. So the final tips, again, let your application, let it stand out. You want to craft something that is really unique. Focus on your unique experiences. Tailor them in such a way that it has a global perspective. Don't just make an application that is, you can't really go about. And let it have like a personal touch, a personal feel to it. Start very early. Start early enough. You don't want to start about 2 weeks and you're messaging scholars like, oh, can you help me review this thing? I'm sorry, you never get a response, right? I know someone that messaged me like that, and they've messaged me like months back, and when they eventually send their document for me to review, I've been so busy that I couldn't even get back to them. It took me like over a month to get back to them. Not that I want to take that long, but unfortunately, I have a TA-ship commitment this semester that has been draining me out. And even this webinar, like we've talked about it since a long time ago, because people are busy. So you don't think that it should work on your timeline. I'm sorry. My friend always say that your emergency is not my emergency or something like that. So you have to think way ahead. Be proactive. Don't hesitate to contact people, send emails, contact professors, contact funding offices, ask questions, ask relevant questions that would make them understand that you've done your assignment. You're not just asking them for asking sake. I see a lot of questions. Oh, how do I start my application to Cornell? Cornell website is there, my darling. Start something. Let me not see those kind of questions. Like, it should be questions that come in the form of, oh, I've checked the website, I couldn't find all of these, so what is this question? This is what my question is. Not question of something that you can find on the website. Sending them those sort of emails it may not necessarily be okay. So try again to send, questions that that you've put in your best, you're just not finding the answer yet, or you're sort of confused. And even if they are clarification questions, it even makes it better because they know that you've done it. You're just like, oh, I saw this. I wasn't particularly clear. I was thinking maybe it is this or maybe that. If you don't mind clarifying that would also be really helpful. Tailor your applications. Always tailor your applications. Again, don't be generic. Tailor it. Different programs, they have different and different scholarship. They have different priorities. They have different things that they're looking at. Customize them. Tailor them as much as possible. If you don't know what tailoring is, tailoring means streamlining them to that particular application. Let it fit, let it match. And yeah, I think with that, you can definitely stand out and get, a really good funding for your graduate school study. So I think I'm going to stop here because we've been on this for like an hour-ish. Thank you so much for being with me from the beginning to the end of this program. And like I said, we recently had a program where we also talked about not securing funding, but mostly writing applications for United States. And you can find them on the e-learning scholarship forum. I have a YouTube video that was made for that purpose. And I think Careergrill also has like some of their stuff as well that you guys can also look into. And thank you so much. I'll be happy to take your questions.
All right. Thank you so much for that presentation. And I must say that I also picked a lot of stuff personally for my own personal use. And at Careergrill, we are really humbled that you honored our call once again, and we understand that your schedule can be quite busy most times. So thank you very much.
I almost rescheduled today's one actually. But I know that man that messaged me will almost kill me today because I was like, the last couple of days I've been very, very tight for me. And in fact, I felt sick. So it's just been tight. Yeah. I almost rescheduled, but I was just like, you know what? We've been on this for the last couple of months. So I cannot just postpone this again. Let me put out my slides and we'll do it.
Oh, I hope you feel better now.
I'm getting there.
We wish you a quick recovery. And of course, on behalf of the man and the entire Careergrill team, this is us saying a beautiful thank you to you. And we sincerely appreciate this sacrifice, this huge sacrifice from you. So yeah, to our participants, I mean, my book is filled up here, but I think I drew up with quotes from what our guests said. So of course, application can be overwhelming. It can be tiring. It can be all of those. But like she said, the fear of rejection is the beginning of failure. So yeah, rejection is part of the process. So do not be discouraged. Just pick it up again, and let's make do of those tips that she actually mentioned. You know, start your application early. When you are crafting out your application, you need to actually put in your best, because it's a competitive something, and you just have to craft an application that really stands out, because you are competing with the best, just like you are also seeing yourself as one of the best. So yeah, tailor your application, be proactive, and when you are also reaching out for guidance, make sure you had also done your homework. Yeah, just like our guest also mentioned, at Careergrill, we also receive some funny questions that you honestly feel like, oh, this is basic. You can actually find this out there. It is everywhere. So I think for you to honestly grab people's attention and to make them always respond to you when you need them, you need to also ask specific questions. So I think I'm saying this now because we are we are gradually moving into the question and answer session, and we would really love that you guys are specific, because I know this is the season again. Most of us are applying. Some of us have questions, and that is why we have even registered for this webinar. So yeah, this is the time you have been waiting for. Kindly raise your hands if you have questions, and we'll just take it one after the other. If you are also the shy type, you can start to type your questions in the chat already. And there's also a question and answer feature on Google Meet. You might want to use that as well. So let's take those that their hands are up. Come in, please, a minute. Okay. So we have Abdul Rafiu Zainab. Can you ask your question now, please?
Good day, ma'am. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. Really appreciate. Please, I would like to ask about the specific requirements. For example, if if someone is looking forward to getting a master's scholarship or PhD, what are the special things they are looking forward to? For example, maybe the number of journals the person has published, or conferences. Like, how many is the person supposed to have in order to apply for a master's and PhD? Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question. So there's nothing specific. That's just a bit of truth. There's nothing specific. But one thing I always encourage is before you even commence the application, which was why I referred you to that YouTube, because we address questions like this in the YouTube channel. Before you commence or you start thinking of, oh, I want to do a master's or anything like that, or I want to, have 5 or 7 applications. Because of that, I don't want to commence my application. You should go to the program website and see what are even their requirements. It's not really dependent on the number of publications that you have. We've had people get into graduate school without publications necessarily. I got in without publication, and now I think this year alone I've had like 4 publications. So it depends. It depends at on different stages. It's good to have. It's a really key resource. When you have it, you're able to tell people more. It's a way of showcasing that, oh, this is my evidence. I can do research. But if you don't have it, that's also okay. Just try to go to the website, check the list of questions, the requirements and things like that. In frequently asked questions, you see some questions like that, to get in. Out of the core requirements, you would never see publications. Maybe in some program you can see, but maybe not for the ones you're trying to get into. So yeah, I guess I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you so much, Marilla.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have Nimotalai Mustafa on the call. Kindly ask your question as well.
Sorry, good evening. Thanks for the program. But it was a mistake. I don't have any question. I didn't know that I had a this thing on. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. So I saw Isaiah raising his hand earlier. I wouldn't know if that's a mistake or not. Okay, we have Koyum.
Sorry, good evening. Thanks for the lecture. But I have a question regarding to the statement of purpose. Let's say after you finish drafting your statement of purpose, to review it and check for mistakes, like which scholars, like where can you find them to help you to review it?
Careergrill is doing it. Like, I thought that's what they do. You gonna do? Yeah, Careergrill is there. I know I don't know if where you graduated from, but from University of Ilorin, we have the University of Ilorin Scholarship Forum where scholars on the platform, they review documents. You just need to submit and they help you to review. If you know people personally, you can always contact them to do that for you. Some people have reached out to me on LinkedIn without even necessarily knowing me, and asked if I could do a review for them. I've offered to do some on LinkedIn, on Twitter, but quite recently I've not been able to do so much more than that because I just have a ton of things going on for me right now. So yeah, there are different spaces where you can see them. Some people paid for it to get reviewed. So there are different options basically.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And I'm also happy to tell you that our last webinar last month was focused on statement of purpose, and it's on our YouTube. You may just jump on that to really guide you on whatever it is you want to write. So yeah, and of course the webinar is free. So the recording, you can have the access to it. So I'll just take one more question now, then we'll take a quick break, then come back to our question and answer. And that quick break, we have something we would like to showcase briefly. So yes, let's just take Adekomi Isaiah now, and then we'll go on the short break.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
I really appreciate you for the motivation, the guidance, and everything you said. It's actually very inspirational, and I'm happy to hear this. So, this is my question. I noticed there are not really plenty opportunities for non-science students, especially graduate. Most of the scholarship opportunities I used to see are for biological sciences, physiology, and sciences. So I don't know, is there any way or a group or an information you can just share with me on how to get scholarship or funding for a non-science student? Thank you very much, man.
You're welcome. Every program has funding. Again, it depends on where you're checking. The number one source at all, if you want to check for funding, is go to that departmental website. Like I said earlier on, we've done how to search for funding. Oh, sorry, how to look into programs on this YouTube program, on this YouTube video. So we basically searched for things on ourselves. Like the video, we did some practical example where you searched for schools that offer that program. You see the program, go to their school website and check the funding that they have available. You can always find, that's like the number one point of call if you're looking for funding opportunities at all. First of all, go to that program, check the kind of funding they offer for you on the departmental website, on the school website. What is it? Sometimes they mostly come in PA shape. If you can mute, that would be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, they mostly come in terms of teaching assistantship, but I have a lot of people, non-sciences, people, historians, like different people that have gotten scholarship, not just sciences. I know sciences are more rampant, but when you actually go through those documentation, email, like I said, you always see those opportunities. And I have a friend who also has a YouTube channel. She started that when she came to the United States, and she does a lot of just non-sciences because she is not from non-science field. So she started doing more of the non-sciences one, just for people to have an idea that, hey, they have funding in this space. You just need to check it, you know. So they are funding everywhere, like I said. Even on the sheets that I shared with you, there are some that are non-sciences. You just need to comb through it. Again, scholarship is a lot of work. You have to take your time to go through all of them, not looking for shortcuts. There is no shortcuts to it. If you're looking for shortcuts, which means you may have to pay people to do the work for you. But if you actually want to do it yourself, and which is something I strongly recommend, do that search, do it yourself. Because graduate school application, graduate school itself is very tedious, and being able to find those information that are not outside, like that people don't necessarily know about, being able to dig deep into those information is what makes you a grad student and how you can survive as a grad student. So the first step of securing a scholarship is just a tiny bit. It's just one drop in the ocean of what you experience in grad school. So start building that skill, that experience, start building them from now. Search and dig deep. Just searching for things on Google alone, you can find tons of things already. So don't limit yourself, explore as much as you can.
All right. Thank you so much. Kayum and Adekomi Isaiah, please lower your hands. So yeah, just as you all know that this webinar is free, it's a pro bono service. We're also able to bring in our guests, of course, at no cost, and we would like to actually just show our own token of appreciation that we have put together for her before we proceed. Okay.
Well, maybe I should start receiving token now. Thank you.
Of course, the value is worth it.
Okay, I need to stop sharing, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so this is dedicated from Careergrill to you, our dear guest. Kindly enjoy.
Okay.
Blessings and blessings upon my life. Did you see me for Christ? Mama say make I listen to Jah, make I know reason to fast. Make I the chill and relax. Nothing is good to me, but lucky I'm grateful for everything. Good and the bad and the ugly, all of the joy and the suffering. And then the drama, all that I seek is in front of me.
Oh wow, thank you guys. that was awesome. Like, you see, they're even doing assignments. I didn't tell them to do anything, but they did that assignment, digging deep into my pictures. I didn't even know they had those images. Thank you so much. That was really cool.
All right. Thank you for commending us for being proactive as well.
Yes. Right.
Okay, so we hope that this truly inspires everyone on the call, because it's truly a process. And yeah, just like the last slide and our video says, keep soaring higher. We wish you the best. So right now, I'll just drop the link to our feedback form. So I will be dropping it now. Ensure to actually give us the feedback. Your feedback means a lot to us. It makes us understand how we are doing as a community, and it makes us to also know how best to serve you. So while you also fill this link, we'll proceed with the question and answer session. So just give me a few seconds while I drop this form link, please.
Please send me the video too.
All right, ma. Almost there, please. So I've just dropped that now. Kindly fill the feedback form. So yeah, I hope you're still here with us. We want to proceed with the question and
yeah.
answer.
Oh, okay. We still have more questions. Okay.
We do, please. Okay, so I'll just open the floor for the question and answer now. So I have an anonymous question here that says, thank you for the presentation. Are you aware of PhD or master's program that are combined with MBA, e.g. MS plus MBA? Also, is it possible to major or minor in a PhD program, sort of like a liberal arts education?
So you want to combine PhD and MBA. To the best of my understanding, I think you have to apply more or less separately into the programs. So I think some schools, you can actually apply to 2 different programs within the same institution and you get in. But you can check their page, their websites, just to be sure of that information. And you have to confirm that you can actually do both of them. And some people, I think, you can do both in one institution, but double check and ask questions. So maybe they can give you funding for the both of them. Maybe they may not. I don't know. But just email them to ask for more questions. You can email the admissions, graduate admissions people.
All right. Thank you for that. So we have Chidinma on the call raising a hand. Kindly unmute and ask your question, please. And I really hope you all are filling the feedback form. Please ensure to fill it as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Aminat, for this insightful session. I really learned a lot from you, especially the fact that I'm also a biomedical engineer. So I always look forward to any session that you're holding. So, yes, I actually am very interested. Cornell is one of the schools I'm looking forward to applying to. I started my application process, but then when I got to the application fee waiver part, I noticed that there was like the only way you can apply is if you're applying via there's something called FAFSA, or if you're part of some organizations. So I wanted to go through the financial hardship part. I don't know if that's applicable to Nigerians.
I know the financial hardship thing. I can't remember exactly what I emailed at the time, but there's a form that you're expected to fill that is available. So you fill the form, explain to them what your situation is, and they'll get back to you if that was successful or not. So I think the application fee waiver is for anybody with financial hardship, and on their website right here is showing that any applicants may be approved. It's not specific to whether you're a citizen or international students. But again, if you have more question on that, I think you can email the grad school admissions team. They will definitely be able to respond. But I also use the form to request a fee waiver, and I explain the hardship, basically. Yeah,
All
so
right.
he's showing that relevant factors include unemployment, underemployment, the expected family contribution, economic conditions in your home country, etc. So then you can type your explanation on the fee waiver request page of the application form. So I think that's the same one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I noticed that I also remember that whenever I try to click on the link on the application fee waiver, it always says I don't have access to it. So I think that's why I even put my application on hold because I started early, sometime in September. But then whenever I try to click on that link, it will say I don't have access to it, that my denied, or I don't have permission to access it.
So you know what? Just send an email to so in the department that you're trying to apply to, you have a contact.
Engineering.
Yeah, so there's a contact person in biomedical engineering. I think that should be Belinda. Email her asking if there is an application waiver available for you, and she'll definitely be able to guide you on how to go about that.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Good to see someone that is working on the process, and at least they're happy that this webinar is helpful. So I have a few questions in the question and answer session now. So one says, my question is, are there opportunities for non-science students, like people who studied education-related courses? Are there funding that supports educational-related programs?
Yeah, I mean, I think I addressed it the other time with the guy that asked the question. Yeah, so there are always opportunities, irrespective of, even in arts, like anything, any program at all, there are funding, and even courses that you never imagined that they'll be funding. Again, be able to dig deep and look for those resources. Nobody's gonna help you do that unless you pay them. Because some people offer those services by payment, but you have to do the job yourself. It's DIY.
Okay, so we need some sort of motivation talk here. My question is there hope for those that are now graduates but have no portfolio?
Okay, so I understand the challenge that comes with graduating from school without having all the necessary skills that you would think of. But after school, what exactly have you been doing to fill that gap? We understand that it could be a gap, but you also need to show us that you're actually working, to fill that gap. So for example, I graduated biomedical engineering, but I majored in bioinstrumentation. But after graduation, I realized that, okay, I also did some internship in instrumentation. I realized that I wanted to do biomaterials and tissue engineering. And I didn't have any experience in that space. So I started familiarizing myself with what exactly is going on within the space of biomaterials and tissue engineering. What are the gaps? Where can I come in? And what are the steps? What are the skills that I need to work in the space? So if you start taking those steps, they can really help you. I've seen people try to switch fields and they don't have experience in that field at all. So they started taking online programs, they started applying for internships. You can do all of those within a year, and by the following year, you get to the point that you want to get to before starting your application, and you use all of those things in your application. Strategically network with people that are publishing papers in that space, help to contribute to that research and publish in that space, which means that you have good enough knowledge and understanding to work in that space. And we do understand that you may not necessarily have all the knowledge that is required, because if you have all of those things, then why are you even coming to grad school? We understand that gap. But being able to convince us in your application documents that this is this, and this is why I have this, and this is what I'm looking to do. If we're just trying to see a definite, we're trying to see definite statements on this is what I plan to do. We don't just want people that are not sure of themselves or going here and there. Being able to justify whatever you have, that's what we're trying to look for. So, I mean, that's what I think I can respond to that. That's going to be my response to that.
All right. Thank you so much. I hope the person that asked the question get more clarity already. So yeah, guys, this is Unfair to Careergrill. We have really brought this to you, and we would love that you give us your feedback. We have just 3 responses so far, and I just want to assume that you are all still crafting those wonderful lines that you want to drop. So please kindly ensure that you give us your feedback, as we would love to read them and see how to improve as well. So I have one more question here. How to go about standardized exams, or are we to do the 3 exams, or is any particular one they need? I don't know, but maybe this is talking about the full IELTS.
Yeah. Again, check the website and know what they want. Don't just go blindly and start writing exams. Not all your program will require exams. Go to their website. Please, like I said, that YouTube channel, I've explained to people on how to go about that. Ensure that you know all the list. If you want to apply to 20 schools, list all the schools, write out all their requirements. In that requirements, is there TOEFL? Is there a way I can evade TOEFL? Can I email them to tell them that, oh, I studied in English, in an English speaking country, and can they waive this for me? Email them before starting any exam. People start the exam first, but I don't think that should always come first. That is one mistake you don't want to make. So start with identifying those things first before thinking about those standardized tests. Again, start early so you can plan well.
Okay, thank you. So I think some persons have been asking for that YouTube handle that you have been mentioning.
That was, so it was a YouTube, it was a session we had on applying for admissions in the United States.
Okay.
It's not my YouTube, it's Learning YouTube.
All right. So to answer some of your questions as well, you can also check out articles on our website. I've just dropped the link for you. It's the season again, and there are so many articles that can help you. We have that on Chevney. We have how to write a winning statement of purpose for grad school. 10 grad school application mistakes and how to avoid them, how to find and secure scholarships for grad school, how to request an application fee waiver from grad school. So we have loads of them there for your consumption. You can actually check them out. So we have one more question from Aisha, and apologies, Amina, we are rounding up already so that we can let you rest. Yeah, Aisha, I think you can unmute your mic and ask a question now.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Miss Amina, for this wonderful session. So my question is based on the English proficiency letter. Actually, Unilori, I know, provides this proficiency letter for students who graduated from the school, but my major concern is it has a date on it. For instance, I got my own last year, December, and using that to apply for, or what's it called, for schools, does the date on it has an effect or not?
Okay, thank you for the wonderful question. It doesn't. It's just establishing that, oh, this person was taught in English. It wasn't necessary. It's not really necessarily about the date. It's referring to the the language of study. So it doesn't really matter. You can always use it. So if you're trying to join the Unilaureate Scholarship Forum, you have to identify yourself as a Unilaureate, like I mentioned, or someone that graduated from Unilaureate. So you can send me a message on LinkedIn, and I'll find a way to, if you're able to prove yourself, then we'll find a way to get you on the platform. So that's my LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay, Thank you for that. So we'll just take the last question for this call, for this webinar. So we have Junaid Adewumi.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Regarding the question that this last person asked regarding the English proficiency, actually, my school I also have a letter from it, and I've done my IELTS last year. And the issue with this IELTS regarding is that it lasts for 2 years, and by next year March, that will be the deadline. Is there any way? Is there some schools that waive all these English proficiency, or I don't even know if you get what I'm saying. If they waive it, that we can just submit the letter from the school.
Sorry, I didn't. It was cracking. I didn't get the last bit. Are you asking if some schools waive the English proficiency?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, what I'm saying is that can we use the letter, recommendation letter from the school that we use English throughout the school rather than submitting this IELTS? Because the one that I have, it will last for just 2 years. That's the issue with the IELTS. So, and by next year, March, that will be the deadline for it, because I did it last year.
So again, always ask them. If they ask you for IELTS, email them to ask them if you can submit a letter of English proficiency instead. If they agree with you, then go ahead. If they don't, then you need to get IELTS for them. But before you go ahead to do what they didn't ask of you, always ask questions. It really helps.
Okay. So, I'm so sorry. There was a network break that side, so I didn't really catch the response very well. I'm so sorry.
Okay, I'm saying that before you submit any English proficiency instead of IELTS, ask the school
Okay.
admissions if that is what they want you to do. So if they're asking for IELTS and you don't have IELTS, email them and ask questions that, oh, I don't have IELTS. Can I submit this instead? Yeah, their response will direct you on what to do.
Okay. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you very much, our wonderful guests. Thank you for doing this with us. We hope that you all had an amazing time, and we're also expecting that you are still filling our feedback form. So yeah, this is where we'll actually be drawing the curtain today. I would love that we all appreciate our guest once again. Please, let's actually give her that clapping emoji. Let's say our thank you in the chat. Let us appreciate her for the wonderful sacrifice that she has done and how she's actually contributing to humanity in her own way to support the rest of us to have that better life, of course. So thank you so much. We appreciate you once again. And this is also to appreciate all of our participants for joining the call as well. So I'm also dropping a community, WhatsApp community link on the chat now, so you can also join our community. And of course, to get more updates, kindly follow us on our social media at Careergrill. Just follow us, and you can always send us messages there or or via the community, and we'll be there to also respond to you. So thank you so much for attending this call, and this is all saying goodbye to you all.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we can begin to leave the call now. Thank you all for joining.